Hey, welcome to my video. I'm Jennifer Roberts and you catch me at True Divine 44. I appreciate you all being here, being so patient with me, not being on the channel quite as much because I've been getting up to other stuff. I want to catch you up with the video that I posted early hours of this morning. Was because we had a bit of an active night last night, in that there's a story to tell. I'm going to wait to get some pictures from friends because my phone died once I'd done a few videos. But a couple of dear friends of mine that I adore, Dawn and Dave, they know a couple of members of a band that was playing at the Newcastle Arena last night. And, you know, Newcastle Arena, it's a big place that hosts many of the concerts and shows that go on in the Newcastle area. So, you know, it's a biggish deal. And so with the announcement of such and such passports now being needed to any venues that hold or have the capacity to hold 10,000 or more people, but there are other ways that smaller businesses are just doing it anyway. And so basically the division is being set in people's minds and people's consciousness. And we decided with another dear friend, Andrew, so myself and my beautiful Jill decided that we could go and serve some papers, that we could go and prove a point to say that this is actually breaking all sorts of human rights laws. And, you know, that's as far as we thought we'd get. And actually, that's the point that we wanted to prove, that people can do their own work, compile their own papers, as Andrew had done for all of us, and serve it on the people who are willing to go ahead with this kind of divisionary tactic, two-tier society. And so it was really last minute, to the point where I didn't really know which band we were going to see. And it's a long-standing band called Madness, you know, baggy trousers, baggy, that's about the main song that I know. And so we get to the venue, and I was actually early. Jill made me early, to be precise. And so we were waiting around and talked to some security guards, which I did video, but we mentioned some things that wouldn't be fair to them for me to share. So like personal life things. So I'm not going to put that up, even though their faces aren't in it. They were security that were there to stop the, you know, the knockoff T-shirts, knockoff tickets being sold outside the venue. And we spoke to them, and, you know, myself and Jill spoke to them about, you know, what was going on. And you know, they both made the decision to maintain life, or to try and cash in on the promises made by Boris that everything would return to normal if you just do this. And they've realized that after making that decision, that actually they're just in a worse off state than before, and that, you know, it's changed nothing. And one of them has actually had, you know, quite a reaction in being very poorly, previously never been poorly, on and off since. And so, but they were talking about the ludicrous rules and this ludicrous partitioning that they put up, that actually made no sense at all, because it actually made people go closer together, shoulder to shoulder, rather than just having the space to go up the big wide stairs with as much space as people wanted. So they were just commenting on the ridiculousness of it, and really starting to see through the bullshit. And so that was interesting. So we had that productive talk. Again, you know, we weren't sort of prepared for a night out, because we didn't think for 1 minute, you know, that we thought we were there to just prove the point of serving the papers and hopefully allowing others to see us do so, to get through to more people again. And so Dawn, Dave and Andrew arrive. Before that, sorry, we walked up a little bit and there was this homeless guy, and his spirit was just so beautiful, just so kind. And although I could see the barnacles of forced decisions, bad decisions, survival decisions around him energetically, could also just see this inner child, this boy that, you know, very much like my brother, my William, you know, that kind of age, that inner child still there, an innocence for life, and actually still a love for fellow humans and animals, so to speak. And so I spoke to him for quite a while, and realized how tough he was having it. And so I asked him if he would want his views to be shared, if he would want his take on what is happening, if he wanted to represent those that were homeless, and what's actually happening to those that are homeless because of this, the practicalities of it, you know, the nitty gritty of it. And they really are being forgotten. And I've worried for a long time, the fact that I know more people are being made homeless, yet the streets aren't filling up with homeless bodies of people. Some things are happening. Now, it has been suggested that some of our pharmacies in the early days of this were giving out months worth of supplies of a certain drug that people use to get off a dependency, that usually you have to swallow there and then in front of a pharmacist. You can't take it away with you. And so that is one key factor that is going to come out later down the line. But another is that, you know, the practicalities, and please go back in my videos and look at this guy and give him, let his voice be heard as he requested. Take on board what he's saying, you know, and apply it to the homeless around where you are, and just to get a greater understanding and a greater level of respect for what they are actually surviving right now, and really being pushed into a corner even more than us in the way that they are being treated, in the way that they are being coerced and trapped. And so he spoke about very practical things also of the food, that people are so filled with fear of invisible germ, that, you know, where it used to be, you know, there you go, son, have a bacon sandwich, or there you go, have one of these sausage rolls, you know, that's not happening. So the food isn't as available. And cash, of course, we have all been getting firmly encouraged, and a lot of the shameful big stores over here in the UK have actually been doing everything they can, including telling their staff to make it as awkward as possible to allow cash payments, all pushing towards this cashless society. Again, the CO, the VO, the IO, the D has been, you know, let's do it for that, you know, for, you know, the less germs, less money, less cash, less germs theory. And so that has been another major practical thing that has affected the homeless, he was saying, in that people aren't carrying cash like they used to, the change that, you know, he didn't mind giving. And that broke my heart. It broke my heart in two. I could fill up speaking about him now. I can't tell you what but anybody, all of you that know me by now can feel me. I could have sat with him all night. it was freezing cold. If I'd had a bigger coat, I would have left it with him. Such a kind heart. And for all of the trials and tribulations he's facing every single day. Because he spoke about the desperation of other homeless people in the, you know, actually when he does have cash, it's a dangerous situation, more dangerous than pre 18 months to 2 years ago, because people are more desperate, they are more willing to beat a more gentle spirit up to get said cash if he does have any. And so it's a bit of a catch-22 for him, you know, if he needs it, it's a mess, but at the same time, when he does get that gift, when he does get that gift in, it becomes a curse because of the situation that he's in. And these are the kinds of things that as a society we could help fix so easily. And it's been made overcomplicated, overcomplicated words spoken out by Parliament, by MPs, overcomplicated promises, never just asking about the practicalities of it. And I'm not dumb. I know that there is a huge transitionary period when somebody's been homeless for any length of time, where they do need a lot of support to even settle, to not feel trapped in a small apartment or a house, or to not feel alone when they don't hear a hustle and bustle of a street, or to even just learn to allow that adrenaline to drop to a more natural level of not just being at its height all of the time, to literally learn how to be outside of survival mode is, you know, difficult in of itself. And I know that it's difficult, but it's possible. It's so possible. And, you know, if I had the money, if I had the field, I would gladly, you know, take some of those great big circular things, tunnels that they put in ground. I would make little mini cabins out of them. Then they've got the feeling of being outside and in, you know, little stove going up out the top, 20, 30 of those, build a community, give them a space to be able to grow, literally grow their own veg and things like that, you know. It would be so easy when we see the waste of money that has happened to cover up the backhanders of huge amounts of money during this past 18 months to 2 years. It disgusts me. It disgusts me. We could sink $1 million into Newcastle Gateshead area alone and create really valuable mini communities, and be humane. And so this guy just, he's been on my heart ever since. And so thank you to the people who've commented on the video that I put up and shown him I love you a lot. I really do, because you're just there, bang, showing him, picking up on what I'm picking up on, and just showing him the, you know, the level of respect that he deserves, and listening to his words intently, which is what I knew you would do, and it's what I wanted for him. And so, you know me, we did some magic, we did some intercession, and, you know, I put protection all around him. But more than that, I put a flame in him. And that if he decides to grow that flame, which is his will, his choice, then, you know, to find his strength, to find his inner lion, to find his roar, and to find the strength to climb up out of the pit that society, for the main part, has put him in. Because he wasn't in victimhood at all, not one bit, which blows me away. when I see such gentle but strong individuals. Strong because for all that they've been through, they've managed to maintain their kindness. They've managed to maintain their compassion, you know. I shook his hand and that's when I did it. So I invite all of you to be respectful of his intent, but just blow on that flame for me. Blow words of wisdom into his heart. Blow words of power and strength and beauty and love and protection into his heart, where that flame lies. And if he chooses to allow that air, those words, those spells to infuse through him and blow on that flame, then that is his choice. But the least we can do is have the offer in there for him to be able to uptake that energy. And so thank you all so much. So I wasn't even going to speak about that fully. That was going to be a separate video, but here's the whole night. So at that point, the rest of the crew arrived, and so you know, my friends Dawn, Dave, and Andrew. So there's me and Jill, and we're all together, and we decide, and there was like, I don't know how many, 60 to 80 ushers, security guards, checking these passports on these phones. And so overkill, but being super stern, super strict. And so we fully expected to never get through the doors because we had nothing to show. Nothing, not a thing, not a damn thing. And even then, we could have jumped through the hoops of passing the phone back, or, as the security guard said, take a screenshot of somebody else's pass. Now, that's not what we're about. We're about proving that, you know, these draconian rules don't make any sense from a virology point of view. From a scientific point of view, they only make sense to dig into the heels of division and of two-tier societies where others are given the luxuries and the power to be able to feel more virtuous, feel more powerful for the decisions that they've made, and for the people on the other side that aren't so balanced either to say, look at them, you know, enjoying everything, all the riches, you know, just sowing those seeds of division, oppression and lifting up, oppression and lifting up. Problem is, you'll be lifted up 1 minute, and then the next minute something's going to happen that affects you and what you want to do and what you do not want to do, more importantly. And so we've gone through all of those scenarios in our mind, and we walk up and we get asked to show our pass. And we'd said, oh no, we've already been in. We just came out to check on someone. We've already been in, and just boldly walked past. The next thing, we go through the metal detector, and again, just blagged our way through. And of course, the free tickets that were there, that if we did get in, that was all part of the test, were there. So once we got in, we were able to find that the tickets were there. A beautiful lady came out that I met, and we actually had a spiritual intervention there and then. But we were in. So we all sort of looked at each other and said, what do we do now? Should we stay? And so we were going to go for a drink first with some of the band, but they were real busy and real tired. And so we said, should we just stay? So we just stayed. Weird. So we ended up having a good night, but it wasn't without such strangeness. I kept zoning out. I kept stitching into different spaces and time. One, it was very odd, and me and my friends kept looking at each other and saying, wow, we can pretty much guarantee from seeing people, you know, hearing people speak and seeing people show their phones, that we are the very, very few here who have not made that decision. It was odd. It was sad. It was overwhelming. There was a strange frequency in that space anyway. And I understand that. I knew that going there, that I was going to feel that, because it is a ritual. It is a cathedral. It's a cathedral. They hold concerts there, and a lot of those concerts are steeped in not so nice ritual, to be quite frank, with the music that's played and the words that are used. And so, and the lights that are used. And so, you know, I knew that, but it was intense. There was entities running around that space, attached to certain people. They had no clue they had that attachment. And then there was such a sea of such innocent, sweet people that, you know, a lot of them, when we got talking to them, had been coerced to keep their job, had been frightened at first, but then were realizing it was bullshit. You know, such a mess, such a mess. But then what happened was I had to do this spiritual intervention with this beautiful lady, and she felt it. I felt it leave. That thing tried to keep talking to me most of the night, which it was told, which with very short thrift, of where to go. But I was standing in the foyer and standing next to Dawn, beautiful Dawn, and I zoned out again, and I literally, it was like the time I was standing in that foyer, thinking those thoughts, feeling like the minority, feeling the sadness, the righteous anger, not at the people, but at these entities that were attached to them, to the coercion that had happened to get them there, and to, unfortunately, there was a few people that had the midwife of death around them, I call it, you know, not a bad energy, just the midwife of death, same as the midwife of birth in spiritual form, which was, you know, it's hard when I see those things, especially when I know it's too soon, it's premature, it didn't have to be. So this zoning out happened in that I was thinking those thoughts, and I literally entered into a female's body in a Mediterranean-like village. I could feel that certain heat. I could smell the smells. I knew I had children, old but terrace-like houses, and seeing a very busy, bustling village, people going about their business, but all of them were wearing a symbol. Couldn't quite make out that symbol because the feelings were overwhelming. And I felt her righteous anger. I felt her confusion. I felt her fear for her and her children. And I felt her complete and utter dismay at being a minority and being able in that minority to see what these people in my village had fallen for. And I knew it wasn't going to end well for me, for that lady that I was within. And I literally I felt all of that. It must have been in minutes. And then zoom back into the space and time that I was physically in, standing next to Dawn saying, "Are you okay?" And me explaining that to her, and Dawn being as lovely as she always is and as wise as she always is. But I'm doing that even more than I usually do of late. Jumping, because the energy, and I explained to Dawn, is that energy is so precisely similar to the energy that I'm in right now, that somehow creates what I can only describe as a wormhole, as a slide where I can slip into that exact space and time energetically and witness this history loop. And I can do that because it is like a record going round and round and round. So there are certain opportunities, but there are more opportunities than there even used to be when I was a child happening now, because the energetic imprint is so similar to the energetic imprint of now that it creates this very easy slide. It happens in an instant. It's happening when I'm not planning for it to happen. Just boom, there. Feel it and then out again. This has been done so many times in so many different ways, but the energetic imprint, the foundation of the plan has stayed the same for so long. This is not how it has to be. This is like a circle rather than a spiral that moves still. It expands down or up or out. This record that has stayed in a fixed space and time that just keeps repeating these same lessons, repeating these same energies is the illusion. And it's the illusion built by a very few. But is it a very few? Because as I looked around that room once I came out of that jump, that quantum leap, I looked around the room and I thought, well, it's not a very few. It's a very few channeling, like using tulpas through very many people. Yes, very cleverly done so, with clever psychological warfare and clever coercion and clever threats. But nevertheless, they are, with our ancient wisdom, they have learned how to use us in the many as tulpas to create this loop, this round merry-go-round. It's crazy. And it's crazy when I see beyond that record, that broken record. It's crazy when I see it in nature, that I see beyond that record. The abundance, the beauty, the variety, the excitement, the love, the lust, all of those things that are raw and readily available. But if you stay in your lane on that record, you don't see it. Very crazy. Now, this whole night doesn't end there. So I've told quite a powerful entity to skedaddle. There was a couple of the security, the ushers, that really, for no reason, were really combative with me. It wasn't them, it was what was attached to them. It was like, oh yeah, you're here, you're not allowed in here. This is our space now. You haven't, we know you haven't got pass to get in here. We know you haven't got rights to be in here. We've been given this space now, this ritualistic space. We can keep it now. You go. We don't need to deal with the likes of you anymore. I was hearing that. And I was like, fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you. I'm here. I'm going to slip and slide in all these little spaces within these spaces that you've been given. And I'm going to own this space. I'm going to be free. I'm going to move freely, and I'm going to be sovereign in every detail in my life that I can possibly be. And I'm speaking this out to these things around these people. And the people are sort of looking confused. It's being puppeted. It's like, yeah, you didn't think I was coming tonight, did you, bitches? I got in. So we had a good dance, but the frequency that was coming off the very many that are obviously partaking in that choice was intense. I came home and downed capsules of my pine needle powder, and it lifted, which is great because I wrote in my diary to say tested, trialed and tested en masse, thousands of people. And I could feel the symptoms lift, which is awesome. But those symptoms were there. They were hitting the sinuses, in particular the back of the throat, this sort of weird, dry itchiness. Itchiness in general. What else was there? Eye pain. I know, right? Shooting pains through the eye, left eye. So very strange combinations of symptoms. And then when we're there, we're speaking to the lads behind us that were having fun with us. One that accidentally poured beer down my back. It was all good, you know. We're speaking to the people in front, and you just realize these people, for the most part, like most people are adorable. Adorable. And, you know, you feel so sad. But it is what it is. And just as we dealt with AIDS, the introduction of AIDS, we'll deal with this as best we can. Got to deal with it with love. Righteous anger when needed, you know me. But love, most importantly. So that was a test. So we didn't get to hand over Andrew's perfectly worded legalese papers that would have had them spinning on the top. We didn't get to do that, but Andrew did get to give out those papers to many people who were there, who can now go ahead and use them, because they were discussing how badly their employers, some people from McDonald's, I'm telling you, I've said it for years, don't eat there, but you know, even for the way they treat the staff, don't eat there. Never mind what they put in it. But they got those papers to use. And so it was a powerful night nevertheless. We were street preaching, you know, free preaching, freestyle preaching. I was freestyle demon hunting. Not quite demon hunting, but you know, yeah, some nasty old energies. around some beautiful people, some tricked and coerced people. So it was a pretty hilarious night in that we got past the point that we weren't sort of expecting. Dave was bitterly disappointed because he'd riled himself up, not to be nasty, but just to be firm. You know, he's a great big tall guy, beautiful, gentle giant, but you know, he has an authority, an air of authority about him. And he really thought he was going to get to use it against this big company. But we didn't. But what we did prove is that all of this shit show is a show, in that it's so easy to get around. It can't possibly be about what they're saying it is about. It is so easy to slide our way through that it can't possibly be what it is about. You're asking the right questions, then you ask if, hold on, so if the can transmit and pass on and can still have and get, then what difference does it make to show a pass? Because that pass doesn't prove, virology wise, if that person in their eyes with their rules for what they're saying would be safe to mix with thousands of other people. Because the doesn't stop the if you know what I mean. It's getting so ridiculous. Gotta have some fun with it. So we did prove that point. It's hilarious, actually. We did prove that point. But what I also proved, and that me and Jill discussed, is that, you know, we've proved that point now, we'll not be doing it again. Because feeling, there was a few people that took poorly when certain lights went off. And we've thought about it and we've discussed it, and actually, because we didn't think we'd get in, we sort of didn't think that far ahead. It was a last minute thing, and we weren't really thinking past the point of us wanting to serve these papers. But actually, it was a good tester, but I won't be in a place like that has already been given. I won't push my way forward to be going into the spiritual space where, you know, I was getting like a lot of attention spiritually wise. They knew I was there. And, you know, do I need to do that? Not if I don't have to. But the other thing is being around so many people who made that decision, a lot of the sweat, close proximity, you could feel it. And so it's like a bit of an overload on the body. And that's what was felt. I love the fact that my pain needle lifted the symptoms. So again, it was worth it for that as well, because that was in my book. But we won't be doing that again. But we proved the damn point that it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And we need to be petitioning nightclubs and places that really speak to young people in particular to say no. No, I go back to my just say no and laugh video. Laugh at your oppressor and say no, a word that we've become far too careful about overusing. It's a brilliant word. I've had to learn the word no, and it's been one of the most difficult words in my vocabulary to really understand. To understand that I have the right to say no without saying no, because I can't, you see, if I do it because, and try and explain all of the reasons that come behind my no, to feel okay about just saying, no, you're all right. it's okay, I don't want to do that. Oh no, no, I'm fine. Without over explaining it, just feeling good and knowing you have the right to say no. And just because the person next to you or the person next to them has been conditioned also to take offense when they hear no without said full explanation of your life and your routine or your the other things that you've got to get done or do, then this is where, you know, that guilt lifts. It's not your fault that they are conditioned that way. They could do the same inner work as you and get used to the fact of it's nice to be able to say no. But if they would want that nicety in their own life, then they have to respect the fact that you've already done the inner work to understand the niceties, the relaxation behind the word no, the authority behind the word no. If you think about it, in the UK, there was a big campaign to teach kids that if they were being abducted or if they were being challenged by a strange adult or teenagers, that children older than them, if they felt vulnerable, to shout as loud as they can, no, 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 just for as long as it took for somebody to come over. And for quite a while in the UK, most adults would know that if you heard that word no coming out of a child's mouth that way, that you go and investigate and get a grip of the situation and see what's going on. And so we do that. They don't do that here in the UK now, funnily enough. But also at the same time, through the schools, through parenting, we tell our kids, don't be rude, don't just say no. Tell your kid to say no. And if your child is saying no to you, you know, yes, there's going to be some times where you're going to have to push to say, yeah, you will. But, you know, don't immediately bang it down. Don't immediately see it as a very, very rude or very, very naughty thing for a child to do. It's actually good to embrace a level of being able to say no. Think about it. You want your kid to grow up, and if they find themselves, you know, goodness forbid, in a domestic violent relationship, or they would end up that way because they haven't learned to say the word no. No, I don't owe you an explanation of where I was. No, I don't owe you that. No, I don't owe you this night out. No, I don't owe you sex. No, I don't owe you this. No, I don't owe you that. Don't owe you anything. No. You want your child to be able to say no into adulthood. They're not going to be able to do that very easily if they're not taught as a child that it's okay to say no. And so that is the other thing that we need to get through to these businesses, that, you know, there will be a day of reckoning where we recognized we were allowed to say no, but in that we got punished for it. And the government will slink away and say, well, we didn't actually set it in law that they had to ask for your medical information for entry. We didn't actually set it. We sort of mandated it. You know, we put a mandate on it, you know, just like this is the date we think you should do this by, and what you should do on this date, and blah, blah, blah. This is just a, you know, firm gesture of our will. They'll then say the clubs and the pubs said, that will be done, oh masters. Scapegoats. So think about what you're doing if you own a business. Think about what you're doing in your own individual life. Think about the ludicrousness of it all, and get okay with saying no, and get okay with laughing in the face of oppression. Get okay with dragging that oppressive frequency over your freaking shoulder if you have to, into the heart space where the lion sits. Much love, balance and wholeness. Love and appreciate you all. I wish all of you had been with us last night and had the laughter, the sadness, the teary eyes, but the love and appreciation for each other, because you would have loved it. So I hope I've given you a little bit of a snippet of what this weird old night consisted of. Very strange night, to the point where I haven't slept. I just came home and started, because there was so many energies around me. I wasn't going to go to sleep and not be able to deal with that. So, you know, I was dealing with that anyway while scooping up the capsules and, you know, filling them up with pine needle powder and inner bark, pine needle inner bark. And so, which is just like a boom of vitamins and minerals and, yeah, get you out symptoms. The symptoms when walking out the door with these entities. I was like, yeah, we'll just leave her alone. So anyway, I'm waffling. Much love, balance and wholeness, and thank you for all the respect that you showed that beautiful man. I'm not putting his name out, you know, because it's his name, but you know, just as they call him, an awesome dude, because that's what he is, an awesome dude. So kind, so beautiful, and so compassionate, even with everything that he's got going on. Much love.